favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the public hearing on the FY 2002 property tax classification.
We're a little early, but I'm move out of order.
Okay, I'm open to that, Mr. Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go to the administrator's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We've had some inquiries from some of the local liquor license holders, wondering if the board had any inclination to do late night closings for New Year's Eve. It's been done over the last several years to give them the time for the patrons to ring in the new year and then clear out the hall at that point. So just asking, since this might be the last meeting before that, just some direction so we can respond.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we do as we've done in other years and at the request of the approval of the chief.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One abstain.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we go to 2001 liquor license renewals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
These are just a list of all the establishments that have applied for renewal every year. They're required to fill out a form to express their intent to renew. We have had one liquor license holder who has sent a letter to the selectmen indicating he's retiring and he is turning that license back to the town. That would be Burke's Superette. So that is a beer and wine package license, which will be coming back to the town of Clinton. Otherwise, all current license holders are asking to renew for 2002.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to renew actually, there would be the 2002.
Right, sorry, I put 2001, it'll be 2002, list as submitted.
I'll second that.
On the discussion, Mr. Chairman, Mike, there and no issues with anybody?
No, not at this point. We haven't had any violations this past year. All the people fill out the proper paperwork and everything is going through the regular process.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One abstention, Mr. Chairman.
Abstentions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we go to article
Do the change of
number
manager.
6 on the agenda, the change of manager application.
These are just votes of the board, so they're not hearings, so the board can
Okay.
act on those at any time as well, so that's.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we accept the new manager for the Clinton Turners.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we go to 7, which is change of manager for the SB Club.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Let's wait around the meeting.
Sure, what the heck?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go into all the new business.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's not calling for votes tonight, ladies. Go ahead.
The first item is a request from there are 2 Class 3 auto parts dealer licensed in town, Statewide Enterprises and Smith's Auto, just to allow them to catch up on all their insurance paperwork for the new year renewal. They've asked that the board act on these issues. Generally, we do thorough reviews for Class 2 licenses, but generally we don't have any issues with the Class 3. And they've asked that if we could put that forward, and then we can deal with the Class 3s in January.
Class 2s in January.
Class 2 in January, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, also move.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's an annual thing that we've done, being that there's been no problems during the year. That's why it's
Exactly. The next is a request from the school department to approve an electric easement, which will be given to the Massachusetts Electric Company for a pad mount transformer to be located on school property to service the new elementary school project.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next is a request from Rincon Criollo Restaurant. Their common victualler license was granted for hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. They subsequently, they had received a liquor license subsequent to that, and now they're asking that their common victualler license be able to mirror the liquor license hours as well, so that they would be open until 12 o'clock.
With 1 a.m. on,
Yeah, 1 a.m., again, any liquor extension on Saturday would have to come back to the board.
Okay.
So this would allow them to open the restaurant till 1, but it wouldn't be, the liquor license wouldn't be able to go until 1.
I make a motion that we grant the license to Recon Creole Restaurant.
Second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And the next is it's just a letter, and it's maybe something I just may make a recommendation to the board if they may want to hold and we can address with the renewals. But Sullivan Auto Sales has received a Class 2 auto dealer license. They operate on High Street. They were given a limit of 6 cars by the board to see how they were going to work out with the new company starting. They said it's creating a hardship for them, and they're asking for 15 cars to be put on that lot. Since it is so close to renewal time, in a couple weeks, we'll be looking at reviewing all the Class 2 licenses, and perhaps this request can be brought up on their...
Mr.
Motion
Chairman,
to
I'll
table.
table it.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just as a final note to bring again to the board's attention, it's an issue that has been an ongoing issue. We received a letter from a constituent on Chase Street about rusty water. It came in the mail yesterday, so I inserted it for the board to have a copy. However, I haven't had the ability to meet with the DPW director to see, to do an analysis of the situation at this time, so.
Could we ask that you look into that up there for our next meeting?
Sure.
Under new business, or at least a query, Michael, did the office receive a letter in regards to the Leprechaun Convention on March 16th? Because I haven't seen that
We did.
in our packet. Do we have a conflict with it?
Nope.
It's like 40,000 leprechauns, I
Yeah.
guess, coming into town.
Can we accommodate all those?
I think so, because the seats are small.
Just checking.
Is that something we can add on to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll
Entertain,
also move.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Because I guess they got to book their flights and stuff like that.
Sure.
That's for March 16th, I believe, here in the town hall.
So that's...
Committee reports?
The committee reports, right. Mr. Mendoza wanted to address water
The water
filtration.
filtration?
We had a meeting Wednesday on the filtration plant, and everything is on schedule right now. The contractor has mentioned it'll be on time and on schedule right now. Everything's on budget. We want to keep it like that. So the good weather helped out a little bit. So we continue to move forward with the filtration plant. Hopefully everything will come in as scheduled and within budget.
Great.
Good.
Those are good words. I like to hear that.
Yes. Dennis, I don't know if you want to update anyone regarding the school project. We are in the process of working with the contractor and the surety and trying to update or expedite the project down on Church Street. We are concerned and continue to be concerned about their ability to meet the July 1st turnover date. They are working on budget, which is critical for us, obviously, as a community, but the work continues to be slow in coming, so we're concerned there. And I will try and keep everyone updated on that, on the board, as well as the public outside of the school system, on the status of that as the chair of that committee. What do we have for a time, Steve?
7:30.
7:30. 7:35? Okay. Close enough. We'll open up the FY 2002 property tax classification hearing. I guess we'll open up the FY 2002 property tax classification hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I could, just to give an overview for the board, the Board of Assessors had intended on being here tonight. They have a scheduled association meeting, their annual meeting for assessors. They had asked that we perhaps could come another night, but I think they gave us some information to go by, and I think we decided to pursue that tonight. Tax bills are due out by December 31st, so we wanted an ability to have this hearing tonight so that we could move forward on that. So they did provide some good information, and again, through a scheduling conflict that they weren't able to be here. But based upon the work at town meeting, that the townspeople have voted for a budget, it appears that there'll be an increase to the tax levy for fiscal year 2002 of $1,173,063.46. At the current shift, where we are at 170% right now, last year the Board of Selectmen changed that shift from the maximum to give a little help to the commercial industrial properties. With that number, our estimated tax rate for the coming, for this fiscal year would be $16.20 for a residential rate and $31.62 for the commercial and industrial property. This hearing requires that the Board of Selectmen receive input and discussion on what the shift would be in the classification of that property tax as to the burden of what the rate is going to be. Historically, we've gone to a maximum shift of 175%. As I mentioned, the board had given some consideration to business last year and brought that to 170%. So each year that can change. That's a decision of the Board of Selectmen, and that's what we're here tonight to do. So if the board has any questions about the packet that's in front of them, I'd be happy to answer it. But mostly tonight, the board will be voting on establishing that shift so that a rate will be in place.
I got a question, I guess, for Michael. Michael, if we drop down to 1603 residential, is the commercial picking up that rate to make the budget?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. So on whatever direction you shift, if you shift to the lower percentage, it would put an increased number on the residential tax rate, and it would decrease the commercial industrial property tax rate. And conversely, if you keep the shift at a higher percentage, it would lower the residential rate and impact the business rate.
But if we were to accept what's proposed at the 170, essentially what it equates to is, because obviously home values are increasing, for 2002, that would mean an average increase of $231 in your residential tax. That's correct. We're going to the 170. Last year, it was only an increase of $24.
But that has more to do with the reassessed value
Yeah,
of the
that's what I'm
property.
saying,
The tax classification itself is exactly the same.
Right.
It's the assessed value of our homes
yeah.
have gone up. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the classification, it's
No,
the
no,
values.
no, I tried to say that, I think that's what I said, is the value of our homes are going up.
Correct, but it's
So
not the
as of-
classification that's causing it, it's the assessed value of the property.
Well,
So the 200
also by going to the 170,
Right.
the shift, though it was just a few
But the
pennies last
the
year.
$20 increase last year was only due to the fact that we had devalued property, not a fair assessed valued property, and that's why the increase is more significant this year.
Right.
It's not a,
But you're not going to see any decrease in home values. It's
no,
gonna go away.
no.
Correct.
But your
But I
savings
just-
is not significant
Right,
going from the
but I
170 to
think,
175.
you know, that's what the tax classification hearing is all about, is to give people, afford
Sure.
them an opportunity to
Absolutely.
let them know, you know, what their tax bills, the average tax bill is going to look like in
Mm-hmm.
the town of Clinton, which the projection here is $2,324.10 on a home valued at $143,000. And the rate proposed at that 170 would be residential 1620 and commercial and industrial of 3162. Quite frankly, I would not be in favor of reducing that any further, you know,
Right.
beyond the 170.
I just feel that we made an effort last year, and I think the rate being the same, if we were to hold the rate the same, we're still reaching out to new businesses, manufacturing and whatnot, to come into the community and at least have not one of very few in the state at the highest rate possible.
I would like to have a fair balance, like the one proposed. I think it's fair for both business and residential. I hate to take care of one, club the other one, you know, I'd
Right.
like to keep it.
It's fair to say that businesses will also come to the community, not just because of the tax base, but
Right.
the water rates that we have are cheaper for most businesses
Sure.
also. So there's other incentives as to whether we're also coming here also.
But
So you wanna
Steve,
throw-
if we go to the 175, we
I'm not
want
saying what
very
you want,
few
I'm just
states.
throwing it out there so people understand the reasons why some businesses come to the town in addition to.
I guess I'm coming from, the businesses are already here too, you know, I'm looking at that, I'm looking through kind of their eyes in a way, you know.
If we were to move back to an old ratio, we'd be one of, Chamber of Commerce may be able to answer it, less than 10, in the 6 total in the state, there would be at that higher rate for commercial. So it's just, I think we made a good step in the right direction. I don't think we're at a point where we can go any lower.
Right.
But I think maintaining the rate that we were at last year is fair and equitable to both sides. So that's just for what it's worth, coming from myself.
Yeah.
So it is a public hearing. Does anyone from the audience that would like to come forward?
Good evening, I'm Susan Templeton. I live on 4 Botel Road in Sterling, but the purpose of my visit this evening is to represent the Wachusett Chamber of Commerce. I serve as their CEO and our office is at 1 Green Street. I'd like to begin this evening by applauding and thanking you for moving the shift to the 1.70 factor, which you did last year. It was the first time in about 15 years that shift has changed. So again, I want to thank you for doing so. The purpose of my visit this evening is to ask you to preserve that rate again for this year. It is my hope, and I encourage and invite you to vote on the 1.70 factor this evening. As you may know, traditionally, this office of the Chamber of Commerce comes to you and asks you to reduce the disparity or create more of a parity. But due to the economic uncertainty and due to the recent events of late, today we just come to you to preserve that option of 1.7 factor split. I am aware that the gap still remains very wide, and I understand that this fiscal 2002 hearing is just for this year. But I want to share with you that my guess is that I will come forward again next year and ask for a multi-year reduction. That would be our hope in the future, that we do 1.65 next year, 1.60 the following year. But tonight I come to you and just ask you to preserve the 1.7 factor split. Are there any questions or observations or comments?
I think it's fair.
I have a question. By keeping it the same, because I'm new to this. So,
Certainly.
you feel will attract more businesses right now?
I do think if we preserve that option and still have the 1.70 factor split, it still looks and shows good faith that we're interested in keeping the business that we have here, encouraging them to expand, as well as still being appealing to prospective businesses who wish to relocate to the town of Clinton.
Okay, my second question is, would we be in jeopardy of losing some of the business we have now if we were to shift it back to what it was?
I don't think that that would be a factor. One of the examples I used in the documents that Michael Ward distributed to you include that the Board of Selectmen have the opportunity to set the tax rate. We look to our state officials to regulate electricity and workers' compensation. So that's why I come to you each and every year, because this is one tool that you can use in your arsenal to really help maintain the business community and also attract new business.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of or speak to the tax classification in the audience? Being none, I'll close public comment. The pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we keep the tax shift at 170% here.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Next on the agenda?
Next item, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any other official business before the board. Our executive session was going to postpone for the next meeting. But I do have a request from representatives from Sullivan Auto Sales that traveled a distance to address the board on their request tonight. I didn't realize that they were here. And they had asked, realizing that if the board is going to take up the issue in the renewal, they asked at least if they could make their case tonight, so during the renewal period, if the board didn't need them, they wouldn't need to travel back again.
Mike,
I-
we have a lot of visual that we...
Yeah, I know. We've got some more things to do. I know that. I picked up on that. I'd prefer not to spend that time. To those from Sullivan, we're going to be basing our decision solely on discussions with the building inspector, as well as yourselves. With him not being here, would be hearing one side of a story that's 5 weeks away from us making a decision. So rather than waste your time or our time tonight, I'd prefer not to do that. Okay? So if you can just respect the fact, we look to our building inspector for the inspections, what the sites are all looking like across town, and then we make our decisions. And that's the process we go through. Okay? Thank you. Yeah. We do have a, Michael? Well, we have a common particular license hearing for 120 Union Street for Karen Deluzio, and Robin Stewart, if you folks could come forward. This is for doing business as Cozy Corner Restaurant, 120 Union Street. If you could bear with us 2 seconds, the person that's supposed to swear you guys in for a hearing just stepped out.
I think he has to say that.
Okay. Michael, do you want to swear these folks in regards to the hearing for Cozy Corner Restaurant?
Sure. I would ask that you raise your right hand and ask that all the testimony information you provide to the board relative to this license, this hearing tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So.
Yes.
This is a public hearing, so we'll open it up for anyone that has any. After you, we'll give you an opportunity to discuss what your plans are, answer any questions from the board, and then we'll open it up to anyone in the audience that has any opposition or would like to speak in favor of your license. Okay? It's not a real formal thing, so please feel comfortable. If you'd like to discuss what your plans are with your business, and then again, we'll open it up to the board.
We're probably primarily going to run it the same way as Mr. Scott did. The breakfast, lunch, and we'd like the late hours for Friday and Saturday night as he had. Some homemade pastry, and that's just about it, not really any changes. except for the fact that it'll be non-smoking. That's about it.
Any questions?
Is this, I'm sorry, I was going to say, is this your first time venture in this? as
Yes,
you
Robin
know?
and I are sisters. Grew up around the
It's not
restaurant
my first
business.
time venture.
It's not her first
I've
time.
been in
no.
food service for 30 years.
Okay.
God
I
bless you.
did do quite, about 8 years with the Old Timer Restaurant. Clinton Home for Aged, I was up there for almost 6 years. I just returned from the Virgin Islands, I bought a pizza house down there. Unfortunately, I'm afraid to fly, so I'm not going back. I'm staying right here. Pretty much I've done catering, I specialize in pastry, and I specialize in wedding cakes.
Mr. I don't have
Yeah.
any, just wish them best of luck. I mean, I'd be
All
voting to
right.
be voting to support it, you know.
Great, thank you.
So the hours for Saturday night, you want 11 p.m. to 3 p.m.?
I'm sorry,
What are the
what?
hours for Saturday night, the late close?
Like 2 to 3 o'clock a.m.
Breakfast in the morning.
Yeah, it says-
Right.
it says
That's
6
the real
to
early,
1 Monday through
it's
Saturday.
the real early
and
bird
then
special.
11 to 3,
Hey.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, maybe 10 to 3.
My question is for the winter time with the DPW, the sanders, the plowers and such, if there is a business generating it during the winter time, could we stay open a little bit longer during those times? Is it a 24-hour period that we could, or we just have certain hours?
If we want to stay open later, after 3 a.m.
I wouldn't see a problem with it, but I think
Well,
that's...
it's what you want to put on your application as far as your
Okay.
business hours.
Okay.
Okay.
You could, I guess, come forward with an exception, but I believe what your hours of operation, you should try and, you need to adhere to those, yeah.
Yeah.
And did we put 3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
That works.
That's pretty good. I have a question. Are we entitled to have trash removal from the town or not? Okay, that's simple.
Dean?
I just had a comment. When I used to tell my kids were going around this kitchen, they would be dressed and out the door. I just want it to be the same when I tell them we're going to Cozy Corner, so
You bet,
good luck down there.
you bet. Thanks.
I wish you best of luck too.
Thanks a lot.
Mr. Chairman, also.
Well, yeah, is there any, from a public comment standpoint, anyone that would like to speak in favor or against? Being none, I'll close public comment.
Mr. Chairman, I also move that we grant the license.
Second.
Just on the discussion, I need to abstain for being part of a business restaurant in town, but I also wish you the very, very best of luck and welcome you to the
Oh,
town.
thank you.
All
Good
in
luck.
favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you. What do we do next?
Start baking.
Start making some blueberry pancakes.
See you? Okay,
Be the first.
great.
Best of luck. What have we got left? Public comment? No.
You know.
Any public comment? Being none, this is our last meeting before the holidays. We won't be back in session, I don't believe, until January 9th. So we'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday season. Wish you all peace on earth and peace in your lives, and the safe, happy holiday season to everyone on the board as well as in town.
And one last thing, Mr. Chairman. I know that we do now have 2 state senators representing the town of Clinton, Senator Robert Antonioni and Senator Harriet Chandler. My suggestion would be that I think it would be a nice way to bring Senator Antonioni in if at our next meeting, we had an informal reception for them prior, like say 6 o'clock,
Sure.
with some pastries and coffee, and give the townspeople an opportunity to come and meet 2, I think, terrific people representing our interest in Boston, and then perhaps stay on to formally
Sure.
meet the board.
That sounds like a good suggestion. Michael, if we could arrange that for our meeting on the 9th.
And as well, I would just say happy holidays to everyone and
Yeah.
our families.
Okay, we will, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session under Article 6. We're not going to have it, never mind. Good night, have great holidays, and
Merry Christmas, everybody.
peace, everybody. Motion to adjourn?
Aye. I make a motion.
Second.
6 seconds on that adjournment. What time we got?